Hello, family builders. This is a very special episode. We were not able to share everything that was communicated in this week's episode, but we pray that this information will provoke you to love and to good works. Galatians 6:10 says, "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith."
Hello, fellow builders. Welcome again to the Family Builders Podcast. This is your host, Pastor David Moore from Lakeview Baptist Church in Newcastle, Oklahoma, joined as always by my faithful co-host and good friend, Pastor A.J. Harold from high atop the Hollywood Hills in sunny, beautiful California. We're here recording a special episode of the podcast this week, and the reason for this is because, unfortunately, there has been a tragedy in America where recently Hurricane Helene hit in Florida, but it also spawned storms throughout the Southeast and particularly devastating flooding in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. And if you follow social media, you've heard all kinds of rumors of things that are happening. If you listen to mainstream media, maybe you haven't even heard about this at all. But I've been watching on social media the updates that are coming in real time from on the ground from someone that I have respect for and that I believe is telling the truth. And so because we are family builders, we want to build not only our personal families, but Brother Harold, we also want to build the family of God.
Right.
And as Christians, we have a responsibility to help one another, to share God's love with each other. And here are some people, many actual born-again believers and even people of like faith and practice who are very much in need of some help. And so joining us on the podcast today is Brother Bohannon McKenzie. Brother McKenzie, welcome to the Family Builders Podcast.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Hey, real quick, Brother McKenzie, why don't you start off by just kind of sharing with our listeners, as you did with me, how you ended up from Washington State all the way down in North Carolina?
Yeah, so I was kind of already gearing up for our deer hunting season in Washington, and he said, "Man, we are daily getting calls for guys with tools and for guys who know how to use all that stuff." And I got to thinking about it and thought, well, I literally have all that stuff loaded on my truck already, other than just a couple of things that I added extra. And so when I passed my exit to go east, I just kept on driving east and
Right.
and drove all the way over here, and that's kind of how I ended up over here. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long drive. That's amazing.
41 hours.
Oh, wow. Wait, did you know anybody locally?
No.
So you literally just showed up and said, "I'm here to help," and
So I reached out to another pastor, friend of mine, as well as obviously I asked my pastor, he didn't know anyone, so I reached out to another pastor friend of mine named Bruce Turner, and Bruce Turner gave me a couple of names of people that he knew of that were in the area. One of them in particular that he hadn't been able to reach, and so I showed up at their church, and that's actually where I've been base camping out of.
okay. When you arrived there, was there a sense of people in the area of panic? Was there a sense of shock? Was there a sense of, why are you here? We don't need any help? Or was there, oh, thank the Lord, there's somebody here to help? What did you find?
They were thankful. They're all just so overwhelmed, and they just couldn't believe. What I kept getting asked the first couple of days is how did you know to come here? And like they don't. Most of them don't think the outside world knows about it.
Right.
And most of them actually don't realize how, because most of them haven't had access to any media for the last little bit.
Yeah.
Most of them don't really realize how widespread this is. The damage area, from what I'm being told, is 800 miles long by 60 miles wide.
Wow.
So it's massive. And so like I'm touching a very tiny portion of it, really. And what I'm doing is minuscule. It's nothing, really.
Yeah. But when you're now that you're there, what is the other what are the other resources that are showing up? I mean, is the government helping or are they not helping? The government says, oh, we're helping all we can. And then we're hearing anecdotally from people, oh, no, they're in the way or they're not here at all. What are you finding there? And I'm not trying to get any, not trying to build an agenda here, but just we want real reports from on the ground. What's happening?
It's very dysfunctional. That's what's happening. FEMA has been like in the big parking lots, setting up food and distribution centers, but like down near the main road where it's easy to get to, they haven't gone up. Again, 800 miles by 60 miles wide.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've stuck to main corridors. FEMA has, at least in the areas that I've been working. I've heard rumors from other areas, workers in other areas, because we run across each other, of worse things. I haven't seen a lot of negative from FEMA. Basically, what I've seen is they haven't been willing to push themselves into the more dangerous areas. That's FEMA. The Army's got some units out here, which I know the next valley over from where I've been working, they've had a lot of heavy effort there. I've seen the helicopters going up and over. The valley that I kind of started working in, they sent 4 soldiers, helicopter dropped 4 soldiers and two Humvees to tell them the Army was coming 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
and so these guys are just kind of wandering around, trying to say help's on its way. And those 4 guys are killing it. I mean, but they're basically unsupported by their command. Since then, there are several volunteer groups that really have done an incredible job, and some that are doing an okay job, and then there are just others that are here.
Yeah,
but mostly it's all volunteers. The road crews. There are road crew. The furthest way I saw road crew from Jalisco, Mexico, and they're just driving. They drive in until they hit a spot of the road that's washed out. They go to work.
Really?
It's been amazing how far and wide I've seen people like actual line crews from Ontario and Quebec, and all that. The only real problem is that there's just no communication. Nobody's in charge.
Right. So it's just kind of people doing what they can, but there's no real overview, no real plan.
Yeah. There is a nonprofit entity called Savage Ops that I've been working with, as well as they got me in touch with Army Command today, and I've had several meetings with an actual colonel from the Army, as well as the guy who runs Savage Ops, and I think they're going to get control back of it.
Okay.
But other than that, it's been a lot of help, but there's been no order to it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the people, brother. The area is described as being very mountainous. I know I've driven through that area. I have family in south central North Carolina that's very much out of the way of the path of destruction, thankfully. But
good.
I have been through that area, and it's a beautiful scenic area. They're on the what I believe it's called the Appalachian Turnpike or something like that.
Yeah,
Blue Ridge Turnpike.
Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah, Blue Ridge. There it is. Yeah, and it's beautiful. See it, but I mean, it's basically the ground runs up and down, not east and west or north and south. It's very mountainous, very difficult, rugged terrain. Once the roads are washed out.
You're from Oklahoma.
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, now I live in Oklahoma, so everything is up and down, but where you guys are. But the back in, for lack of a better term, back in the hollows and the valleys and up in the mountains, I mean, is there still people that no one knows if they're alive or not? No one knows what's going on or how they're doing, or their towns?
So I can happily say that the area that I've been working, there are none left that have not been contacted.
Okay, good.
So what I started with was getting up there, and so once I got up there, which was a lot of chainsaw work and a lot of digging.
Yeah,
a lot of chainsaw work and a lot of digging. Once I got up there, then I made contact with the churches that are up there. There are little Baptist churches just all over up there.
Yeah.
And so I made contact with the churches as well as with their pastors, spent time praying with their pastors. And I offer to their pastor. So I had a 4-wheel drive Jeep on 35s, and it's locked up and got a winch on it and the whole 9 yards. So I offered their pastors, hey, let's go and visit the members of your churches.
Awesome.
And so the ones that were of help to do that came with me. The others gave me lists and drew out maps as best as possible. And using Onyx, I don't know if you know what Onyx is. Using Onyx, we got GPS coordinates, the ones that I couldn't find enough road to identify. And I just went to work finding people. I brought a Starlink Mini with me. Mm-hmm. So I found people. Once I got to them, then I gave them the opportunity to be able to contact loved ones and family and all that. And then once having established trails up there, I got the list of their needs. And then we started establishing routes for getting supplies to people.
That's fantastic. What's the response of the actual, like, so when you show up and here's a family that thinks the outside world's forgotten about them and they're devastated, and then you show up in your Jeep, what has their reaction been?
It's been varied. It's obviously been varied.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from shock to I've been accused of trespassing. I hate to say it, but think like the post-apocalyptic movies that you think of. They think that's what just happened to their world.
Yeah.
And some of them, not all of them. I mean, not all of them.
Sure, they don't know if you're there to loot or to help or what you're there for. Yeah. Yeah.
They have no idea. I mean, their world just fell apart. I just absolutely fell apart. And some of them. I mean, by the time I was there, some of them have been like 11 days without contact from the outside world.
Wow.
Well, there's obviously physical things that we could address as well, things that we can do who aren't there locally. But can we address the aspect of prayer? Our children are a little oblivious to this, moms and dads, unless we tell them the truth. We can't show every video. We can't show every picture. It's age appropriate, sensitive, but we can pray at a minimum, and we must pray. So can you just give us some insight on how we can pray on basically on information in an area we don't know? A lot of our children have no idea. So how can we as families pray, in addition to some things we'll address here at the end, I guess, of how we can help? But how can we pray for this?
I'd say just be praying for the families up there, that God to give them peace. The kids even. I mean, just some of these kids have seen things that just shouldn't be seen. I mean, the one who rode along with me for several days, showing me ways up there and helping me find people and finding people. And he was 15 years old, and he took it like a champ. But I know that. I know that this has got to be a lot on him. I know it has, and I know his family lost their home in this. So, there's some things. There's some things, that's for sure.
I know the families that have lost their homes. You had mentioned in some of the posts on social media, a lot of people living in tents now. Is that pretty standard?
There's quite a bit of it up there. There's quite a bit of it up there. A lot of them, I mean, these are hardy people. These are hardy people.
Yeah.
And they're people that a lot of them, their families, the boy that was riding with me, his family had settled in that area in like the 1720s.
Wow.
I mean, like, every creek, every hill, every bend is named after someone in his family.
Right.
And they're not leaving. Like, you think they're going to leave?
Of course not, yeah.
They'll die under a tarp up there before they'll leave.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't hardly blame them. They just have connection that's just deeper than life itself.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them living in tents. In fact, there are a lot of them that are honestly just living under tarps.
Wow. And that's Jubal Stern's country there. I mean, his family, think of the things that they saw, that's amazing. What you had shared online about the weather turning cold.
Yeah, it's cold. It was 28 degrees last night, and we had a skiff of snow. And the thing is, it's just an indicator of what's to come.
Right.
I think things like, now that the roads are starting to get to be more accessible, I think like camper trailers or portable sheds and wood stoves. I love these people. They're incredible. They're asking for chainsaws and for wood splitters, and they're just bucking timber like it's going out of style because they know it's going to be a cold winter.
Right.
But they're not asking for a lot. They're like, help us just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of where they're at. But I think wood stoves in like portable sheds is kind of what I got in my mind as something that would be, probably their next step.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What about potable water and stuff like that? The sanitation system is going to begin to be a real problem here, I would think, before too long.
So up on the mountain, sanitation isn't as bad an issue.
Right.
So you kind of got to think water drains from the top down, right? So the contamination levels, the further down you go, they exponentially rise. But up toward the tops where I've been working, there are a lot of creeks that have water that probably with minimal filtration is acceptable. And I will tell you, the volunteers and donations that have come, I mean, there are so many pallets of water. I think the biggest problem they're going to have over the next few years is figuring out what to do with all the empty bottles.
Wow.
But, I mean, it just every wide spot on the side of the road's got a couple pallets of water set up on it right now. I mean, just people from down below and people who are coming in from other states know to bring bottled water, so they'll drive as far as they feel comfortable going with their car, and when they turn around, they just stack it.
Wow.
And then the people from up top are walking down or using four-wheelers and coming down and just grabbing a pallet or grabbing a flat of water and taking it up.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great that people are helping with what they can, but what we're hoping to do is maybe get a little more focus on help. So tangible, physical ways to help. What are some things we could tell our listeners to do? We don't, most of us, like I said, we don't want to give money to government organizations or NGOs that we don't know who is running it. Is there, church-based of churches of like faith and practice, church-based help? Is there, maybe GoFundMe's or do you know?
I am working on getting a spreadsheet of local churches. Stuff is great, but they're literally all, I don't know how they're going to have church in their churches at this point. They're stacked so tight.
Yeah.
With stuff, which is great. They need that. It's all stuff that they're going to need over the next several months. The biggest issue is none of them are really equipped to warehouse this much stuff. So I think giving the churches, I am working on a spreadsheet of local churches of like faith, which is actually trickier than you might think.
Sure, yeah.
for a couple of reasons, because everybody's a Baptist up there, but not all Baptists are of like faith.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So that's issue number one. Issue number two is a lot of them that are of like faith are, shall we say, hyper independent.
Yeah.
And so they don't really hardly know the next church down the way.
Yeah.
They just kind of keep to themselves, which is kind of, they're hyper independent, probably not as much doctrinally as they are just, that's how the people in these mountains are. They're just very independent people.
Right.
They have their little tight-knit community of, 50 families or so, and that's it. But I mean, like Chestnut Hill Baptist Church up there, they're a church of 40 or 50 people, I think is what he said, and they lost 13 people.
Oh man!
So I mean, you got to think, it's a third of their congregation or something like that. It's
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Well, listen, do me a favor, would you? When you get that spreadsheet ready, if you would, when we get done recording, I'm gonna give you my email. Have you email it to me, and then we'll make it available on our, I guess on our website would be the best thing, Brother Harold.
Yeah.
And then if it's all right with you, we can share it on our social media page as well.
Yeah.
Just so folks to have a place to go, a place to send help, send money, send food, or if they themselves, maybe somebody like you, brother, I'm 57 years old. I'm a kid from Chicago. I'm not going to be any help with a chainsaw, but there may be some out there like you, young men able to do that kind of work and could go out there and could maybe take a week. Real quick, if you would, share with me what your wife said when you told her, I'm not going hunting, I'm going to North Carolina?
She said, take as long as you need, and she's just been totally behind me the entire way. She's a wonderful woman.
I tell you, listeners, that is a wife who is not in a marriage for what she can get out of it. She's in a marriage to serve the Lord with her husband. And that I tell you, when you said that, brother, that was such a blessing to myself and to Brother Harold, because that's what we want to help people to develop in their relationships. She trusts her husband. She knows he knows what he's doing, and she's behind him 100%, and she's with him. That's fantastic. Do you have children also?
Yeah, we have a 17 and an 18-year-old boy.
Okay, so that's time Dad's away from home, and brother, I appreciate your willingness and your sacrifice and your love for the Lord to do that. Well, that's about all the time we have for today, unless you have anything else.
The one other thing I'd say is in volunteers, chainsaws are becoming less needed, and builders are what's going to be next needed.
Builders.
That's the next thing.
Framers.
People with trade skill.
Right.
I'm probably starting to look at donations of trying to get lumber and stuff donated here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But,
all right. Great.
Yeah, but you can check us out on mannerismsadventures.com, and I'll keep updated as much as I can on that as well.
Okay, yeah, we'll post a link to that as well on our social media and on our website for our listeners.
Yeah,
brother,
definitely.
We're praying for you. You've got my number. If you need anything, you need everything, I know. But if there's an urgent right now need, give me a call. I'll do what I can. We're praying for you. Let the folks know there that other Christians outside of that area are praying for them and are doing what we can to mobilize forces here. So thank you again, wonderful. Brother Bo. We appreciate you. We'll let you get back to, and I appreciate you. We're in California recording this, so it's only 6:20 in the afternoon here, but for Brother Bohannon in the East Coast, it's almost 9:30 at night after a long day of work. So thank you for taking the time. God bless you.
Happily.
And we'll be in touch, brother.
All right, you guys take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, listeners, we hope that this has been a help to you. It's been a terrific encouragement to me. We can get cynical, Brother Harold. We can lose faith even in Christians and their love for each other. But when I see something like this man taking time away from his job, from his family, from his fun hunting trip he had. If you're a hunter, you don't just give that up.
Right.
But he gave that up to drive across the country, across the continent, to help people he doesn't know.
Yeah. And can I say he was 2 years old at one point?
Yeah.
His mom and dad taught him when he was 3, when he was 4. Do you think grandma and grandpa now aren't, quote unquote, proud, thankful for what their son is doing and how he turned out?
Exactly right.
Family builders, it all matters.
And that's what we're about here. That's what we're trying to help. We hope that you have enjoyed this. Please be praying for these people in North Carolina and Tennessee. Be praying for the residents there as well as those there to help. And be praying for our government. Be praying for our country during this national tragedy in this time. And let's rise to the occasion. As Americans, we have a responsibility to rise to the occasion, but as believers, much more so.
Right.
We have a responsibility. So let's do that, family builders. Let's rise to the occasion. Thank you for listening today. Brother Harold, why don't you go ahead and take us out?
For more information, reach out to familybuilderspodcast@gmail.com and never let up.